This is tutorial number 98, and it covers how to use the Offset Sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So what I'm going to show you in this tutorial is how to use the Offset Sketch feature to offset an original sketch that you have. So to start off, let's just sketch out a random sketch. So let's click Sketch, click Line, click Front Plane, and just with the line, just sketch out an odd shape. It can be anything, don't worry about the dimensions. Click OK, and let's just extrude it out. Just do 10 mils. Now, let's say that you wanted to offset everything and make it 10 mils larger all the way around. So to do this, we go into the sketch, and we click Line. You would draw another line using the Smart Dimension. You try to dimension it 10 mils away from the original one. But to do that, and to go all the way around, it's a lot of work, a lot of hassle. So let's delete this line, and to do that 10 mil all the way around, instead of doing each individual line and dimensioning it, all we'd have to do is click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Offset Entities, click, and it automatically gives us a 10 millimeter difference or gap. So we can increase it, decrease it, and it follows the gap. So click OK, and let's delete the inner one. Click Accept, and now it also changes on the feature, so through the extrude. Now you can also use this if you want to make, say, a cutout in the middle or on the outside. So let's click Sketch again, click Edit Sketch, and say we just want a 10 mil ribbon all the way around, just like a little outline, thin piece. So let's do the Sketch Tools again, click the Offset Entities, click it, click OK. So now when we extrude, we're going to extrude all the way around here. And if we actually wanted to do this just by using the line, it'd be a lot of work to duplicate the second offset from the first one. So let's click OK, see what happens, and we get our little offset there. So using the offset tool, we're able to offset an original sketch that we've made. If it's an intricate sketch that it's very hard to duplicate out, it would take a lot of time, a lot of dimensioning. You can quickly just do a 10 millimeter offset like we've done here. And it also lets you do extrudes such as this, that you have a thin 10 millimeter, whatever you want, extrude between two sketches. So that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Offset Sketch feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 99, and it covers how to use the Scale Sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial, what we're going to cover is how to use the Scale Sketch feature. And why we would use the Scale Sketch feature is if, say, we have a whole set of drawings that have dimensions on it, and we want to scale the whole part by, say, 1 to 3. So all we'd have to do, instead of on the side calculating every single time for every single dimension, we can actually draw the sketch on there, then just scale it all for whatever the scale would be, say 1 to 3. So to start off, let's click Sketch, click the front plane, and click Line, and let's sketch something out. So just make funky sketch, doesn't have to be perfect, just make it intricate. Something that you wouldn't want to scale yourself. Click OK. So now we have this sketch, and if we wanted to go and scale it and change all the dimensions, it would be quite tedious and very hard. So we'd have to go around to each individual part, change the dimensions, use a calculator, multiply it all out, do whatever we need to do, then add them in. It's too much work. So to quickly do this, go back into the sketch, click Tools, Sketch Tools, then click Scale, click the sketch. Now you can do each line individually, or you can do the whole one. So let's do the whole one here. And click OK. And you can see the scale coming out. Now, when you click the scale about, you're going to be scaling about a point or a line. So each one that we pick, that's the one that it's going to originate from. So let's say that we want to do it around the circle here. So click there, it's going to originate around there. So now you can see that it's 5 to 1. Now this time let's put 0.5, and we get it 0.5 there. Make it 10, and it scales out 10 times. Now you can also change the number of copies, so it keeps going out, out, and out. Just keep it to 1, and that'll give you your 1 copy. So from this one sketch here, say we wanted to make it 10 times, all that we had to do was put in the 10, choose the point that we want to scale it from. So you just click a point, a line, and it's going to do it around there. That just kind of fixes your sketch, so it allows it to go there. 10 multiplies it by 10, and this gives you the number of copies. So each time you do it out, out, and out, it's going to get bigger and bigger. Okay, now click OK. Say that we got our 10 that we want, click OK, and the sketch is there. Now you're able to go back and delete the original one, accept this one, and then from there you're able to do whatever you want. Say you want to extrude, lets you extrude it out. So from an original sketch, we're able to scale the whole sketch out up to whatever it is that we want it to be. So if we have a whole set of drawings and dimensions, we can actually just put it in there, then use the scale instead of manually doing each dimension. Or if we already have a part that's in there and say that we want to change the scale of how big, how large, how small the part's going to be, that's all we have to do. Just change the sketch, use the sketch scale, and it easily and quickly does it for you. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Scale Sketch feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 100, and it covers how to use the Trim Sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, open up a new part file, click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So what I'm going to show you in this tutorial is how to use the Trim Sketch feature, and what that does is when you have a bunch of different lines and different points on the sketch, if you have a few that are running past each other, like if a line runs past another line, so the points don't touch, you're able to trim one line back so that it touches a point on the other sketch. So I'll show you a quick example. So click Sketch, click Front Plane, click Line, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a square, but every line is going to be running past each other one, like each of the other ones. So you can follow and you can make your own just like this. So you can see that at each corner, the sketch runs past each other. So what we would want to do is bring this point here, and do that for all the way each corner. So this is just a more simpler example of what the Trim Sketch will do. So let's click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Trim, and now you get a choice of Power Trim, Corner, Trim away inside, Trim away outside, Trim to closest. The one that I like the most is the Power Trim. It kind of uses all of these down here and figures out the best relationship kind of thing. So it's the easiest one to use, and I'd rather just stick with this one. I wouldn't use these ones because then they're specific to certain things, and the Power Trim's easy. It just gives you tell it what you want to trim, it trims it. So click on the Power Trim, and the first one we're going to trim is this point to this point. So you click this line, click this line, and it trims it to there. Now let's do the same in this corner here. So click this line, and now you have your corner. So just do that all the way around. And you'll end up with a box. And your box is closed, 4 points, 4 lines, and you're good. Now, let's exit this sketch, delete it, and we'll do one that's a bit more complicated. So, click the front plane, click Sketch, click Line, put a line here, make one going across there. Now take the 3-point arc, put 1 point here, 1 point here, pull it out like that. Now here, we're going to be using like a curved line, and you want it to end up there. So, let's use the trim feature again. Sketch Tools, Trim. So, first let's do this corner, like the last one we did. Trim it back. Now let's try to trim the curve here. So, click the curve, click this line. Click the curve, click this line, and it trims back. Now let's trim these ones back too. So click that line there, that line, click there. And now you've trimmed it back once again. Now, when you would normally make a sketch such as this, you wouldn't run by anyways. You would probably just do this to make that exact same sketch. But you'll find sometimes if you have a surface that you're sketching on and you have a couple different points, different geometries you're trying to bring together, you're going to have moments where a line runs through like that. And there's no way that you can really dimension it any other way than running it through. So then you'll have to go back into your sketch tools, use the trim, and then click that line, trim it, click that line, and trim it. So using the trim sketch feature, it's a really good way of being able to utilize geometries that are previously there in previous sketches or surfaces or solids or whatever, and then bringing it back and making a closed sketch that you can work with and go from there. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the trim sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 101, and it covers how to use the extend sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file, click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So I'm going to show you how to use the extend sketch feature in this tutorial, and what that does is if you have a sketch that the points don't all touch, they kind of come up short to each other, you're able to extend those lines and you're able to create a closed sketch with the points and the sketches that you've made that don't touch each other. So let's start by sketching something out. So let's click Sketch, click the front plane, and with the line, let's make one line here, and make one exactly the same right beside it there. And then inside, make a couple lines that don't touch each other in there. Now, with the extend sketch feature, we're able to extend these lines to go and touch each other. So click Tools, Sketch Tools, Extend, and when you place it over there, the red, you'll be able to see where it's going to extend to. So extend it, bring it over again, it extends it out again one more time. Same to the bottom there. Now if we go back and use the trim that we just learned, we're able to trim away the excess there. And then we've created our square and we're able to extrude it out. Now, let's do one that's a little bit less complex, or sorry, more complex. So delete this and click Line, click the front plane, and just like the other one that for the trim, we're going to make one that's sort of like that too. So bring a line there, line over there. Now with the 3-point arc, make one that's inside of it. Now just make sure that if you're kind of eyeballing it where it would extend, that it extend through those lines. So click Tool, Sketch Tools, Extend, place it over the circle, and it extends there. Again, extends all the way to the other way. If we go back, use the trim, we're able to trim those edges back again, and we have our closed sketch. Now again, we may be using, when we would come across a point where we'd have to extend the lines is either if you're deleting some lines or if you're using references from other surfaces, planes, points, whatever, and using those you might come up short. So this allows you to extend it all the way through. And this concludes our tutorial on how to use the Extend Sketch feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 102, and it covers how to use the Split Entity Sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file, click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So I'm going to show you how to use the Split Entity Sketch feature, and why we would be using this is if you have an entity, a line, a little sketch that you have, and you only want a part of it left over, you'd use the Split Entities feature to create new endpoints, and you're able to delete the old ones. Or you're able to delete sections of the original sketch to create a new sketch. So to show you, let's click Sketch, click the front plane, and we'll just do a basic one right now. Just click on the rectangle, and let's draw one out. So now we have the rectangle, and say that we only want this corner here. We want to get rid of the rest of it. To do that, we would really have to delete the whole thing here, and then with the line go and just draw those two lines. Instead, if we have the sketch, like the entity sketch here, so click Tools, Sketch Tools, the Split Entities, if we click this, wherever we click on the lines, it creates a new endpoint, and then we're able to delete other sections. So if we want to keep the line to this point and to this point, we'd click here and click there. And let's put a couple dimensions on this. Let's just make from this point to this point, make it 25, and do the same for this bit here. Make it 25. So we want to keep this little section of a 25, 25, okay? So now we're able to go and delete these sections here all the way around, and we're able to just keep this original sketch. Now if we wanted to do that the other way, we'd have to delete the whole thing and then go and sketch it out, such as that. So let's discard the sketch, and let's do another one. Click Sketch, click Line, click the front plane, and let's just draw a sketch like this, 3-point arc, and you're able to do the split entities on a curved surface too. So let's click Tools, Sketch Tools, Split Entities, and there's already a couple points on here, so let's actually just use those. So let's say that we want the whole sketch minus from this point to this point. So what we want to do is click this point here and this point here, then click the select button and select that section in the middle, click delete, and we've gotten rid of it. And let's just close it up, say we want a straight line there, and now we have the straight line there. So with this, the split entities, what it allows you to do is just keep sectioning off one specific line or sketch, whatever it may look like. So go back in there, click the split entities, and you can see that every time we click, we're splitting it up into multiple sections. And then from each of those sections, you're able to select and delete that section, or you're able actually to select it, that section, and even extend it to a certain point. So it's up to you, but using that split entities feature allows you to split up one line, one curve, whatever it may be, into multiple sections, and you're able to manipulate them and make them do whatever it is that you want them to do. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Split Entities feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 103, and it covers how to use the Jog Line feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file, click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So we're going to cover in this tutorial how to use the Jog Line feature, and really all it does, if you click Tools, click Sketch Tools, You can see in the preview, even though right now it's not highlighted, it's just pretty much what it does is make that kind of line from a straight line. It just gives you that little lift up and around. So to start off, click Sketch, click the front plane, click Line, and just draw a straight line straight up there. So let's click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Jog Line. Now, using this feature is actually kind of hard to really see because when you click it, it doesn't give you a menu on the side or anything, and even when you go to click the sketch, it doesn't highlight anything. So what you kind of have to do is you click here, hold the button, drag out here, you won't see anything, and then let go. So it's kind of hard to do. It's weird, but just kind of follow along. So click, hold, bring it out, let go, and now you have the jog that you're going to pull out. So just make the size you want, click OK, and now you have that jogged line. So really, it saves you time because, let's see, say I had that line to begin with, and then I wanted to insert that jog. I'd have to go do this, go around like that. Then to get the bit in the middle gone, you'd have to delete that whole line there, go back individually, and add those endpoints. So it's a time saver if you want to add a jog such as that in the line. Okay, now let's try this with a square. So click X and discard the sketch, and let's sketch out a rectangle. Click any plane, and let's make a square. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a jog onto each side. Now if we were to actually do this ourselves, it would be a lot of manual work, but if we just go click the jog line, click, drag, let go, have your jog, bring it in. Click, drag, let go, throw in the jog, and you can do that all the way around. And you quickly can insert all this. And then you're able to go through, let's say that we want to make the jog 20 by 20. You're able to do that. So you can go around and then dimension everything from that. So if you wanted to actually manually do it yourself, it would take a lot of time. Using the jog, it quickly throws in a jog into the line that you're then able to go back and manipulate and throw dimensions into. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the jog line feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 104, and it covers how to use the construction line sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, open up the new part file, just click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the construction line feature, and what that does is from a sketch that you select, it's going to create construction lines from it. And what a construction line does in a sketch is you're able to make references off of it to constrain the other remaining sketches that aren't construction lines. And then when you go to extrude or create a feature from it, the construction lines are kind of like hidden, but they're still constraining the original sketch. So to show you an example, we'll just start off, click Sketch, click Rectangle, click the front plane, and I'm just going to create a square. And then when I go to create an extrude from it, click OK, I get my plate. It extrudes out, normal sketch. Now if I delete this, and if I go into this sketch, click Edit Sketch, and say I create a construction line from it, so click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Construction Geometry. Now I can create construction geometries all the way around. Do it again, have another construction geometry. Just do it all the way around. So highlight it, and then do your construction geometry. And now the whole square is now just a construction geometry, so just references, and it's not going to be able to create a feature from it. So if you click OK, click Extrude, and you click the line to extrude, you get nothing, just because it's all like references and construction lines. It's not actually there. And if you click OK, you're going to get an error. There's nothing that it's really extruding from, and that's what the construction line does. It's there, to dimension off of and to make references, but you can't actually extrude from it. So click X, and let's go back into the sketch, and let's make a rectangle outside of it. So let's say that we wanted to constrain it. So off of this line to this line, make it 20, and let's just do it all the way around. Just make it 20 all the way around. So now we have our square. It's constrained using the construction line that we began with. Now if we go to extrude, click OK, click extrude, all that comes through is just the original, is the sketch that's not the construction line. So it's like the original one. There's nothing altered to it. You can still see the construction geometry in the background, and it's still there. It's just helping to constrain the square that we have. So if you click OK, it's going to extrude out and it's going to make that square. Now let's delete this, and if we edit the sketch again and say that we had a normal square in the middle there, if we click OK and click extrude, what we're going to get is a cutout like that. Now with just using the construction geometry, you're not going to get that cutout. So like I said before, the construction geometry is there, but it's not really there when you go to make a feature. It's just helping to constrain your other sketches. So that's pretty much the gist of what the construction geometry and the references will do for you, and that's why you would apply one into any sketch that you'd have. You'd apply one in there just so you can make references and other dimensions driving off of that one sketch, but when you go and create your feature, the construction geometry hides itself. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the construction geometry within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 105, and it covers how to use the Move Sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now I'll start off, let's open up a new part file. So let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial, we're going to be covering how to move a sketch within SolidWorks. So to start off, let's just sketch out a sketch. So click Sketch, click the front plane, click Line, and just freehand a unique sketch of your own. Click OK, and you've closed it up and you have your sketch. Now let's say that you want to move this line straight up. So let's click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Move, select which line you want to move. So say it's just this one, we want to move it straight up, click it, and then click the start point and just say that's it there, and you're able to move it up, play around, throw it wherever you want. Click there, and you moved your sketch up there. Now go back, so click Ctrl Z. Now let's say that we want to move the whole sketch around. So click Tools, Sketch Tools, Move, and your entities to move, you have a list here. So every single one that you click, it adds to the list. So click the whole one until you have the whole thing. Click the start point, click any point around here, it doesn't really matter. And then you're able to move it around. So say we want to throw it over here, throw it over there. Now let's say that you want to move it in relation to a certain position. So say it's in this position and you want to translate it 10 millimeters. So click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Move. Now click all the points. Now click XY, and let's put in 10, and you can see that it's moved 10 in the X direction. Say we want to do 10 in the Y, click 10, now let's move 10 in the Y. Click OK, and now you've just translated your sketch 10 millimeters in the X and the Y. Now let's do this once again and go to Move. Now if you're in the X and Y like this, a application that you would probably use this for is, say that you already have a solid in the background, and you're kind of making a sketch of the surface of that solid, or just certain geometry from it, and then say that you actually wanted to translate it around, you can just highlight. If it's unique like this, it'd be hard to manually use like the smart dimension and position everything and move it around. So if you have the move and you clicked all of these, you're able to, move it around 50 and negative 30. And you're able to move that sketch around a lot easier than if you were using the smart dimension and trying to dimension everything and move it around. So the move feature, it's an easy way of moving a whole sketch, or if we delete these lines here, a portion of the sketch. If you use the from to, you're able to pick a point and manually move it around with your hand. If you do the XY, you're able to do it precisely to a certain dimension that you want. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Move Sketch feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 106, and it covers how to use the Rotate Sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part. So let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So we're going to be covering how to use the Rotate Sketch feature, and what that's really going to do is, if we have a sketch that we've made and it's a unique sketch, it's kind of hard to duplicate, we're able to rotate that sketch using constraints and stuff, rather than using a constraint such as smart dimension, so dimensioning each component and kind of rotating it around, or if we had to redraw it and try to guess where it would be. Using the Rotate Sketch is a much more easier and more precise approach to doing this. So let's click Sketch, click the front plane, and then just sketch out a unique profile. And then click OK. So now you have your sketch, and let's say that we want to rotate the whole sketch. So what we're going to have to do is click Tools, click Sketch Tools, click Rotate, and then in the box here you can see each one that's highlighted. So if we want to rotate the whole sketch, we need to highlight each component. So click each line, and now we have the whole sketch highlighted. Now you have to select the center of rotation. So let's say that we want to rotate it around this point here. So click it there. And now you have a box at the bottom that shows the degrees of rotation. So if you just start doing it, you're going to see that it's going to be rotating around that point. The light blue is the original, and the green is where your sketch is going to be going. So keep going all the way around. Let's say we want it to be 90. Click OK. And now the whole sketch is rotated around 90 degrees. Now let's change what's selected. So let's say that we just want to rotate the arc. So we just have the arc selected. We need to click center of rotation. So you can either select any point. So we can select, say in this case, say we just want to rotate it around like this. You would select this point here, rotate it, and it's just going to be rotating around its center point. So we can go, say 180 degrees, and then it's going to be touching the end point there. A little bit more than 180. Just keep going. So you can see what the center of rotation does. Now say we change the center of rotation, say we make it here, you're going to be getting a different spin on it. So instead, you're going to be rotating around that point, so it's going to be reacting exactly related to where your point's going to be. So if you keep changing up the point, 100 degrees here is going to look a lot different than 100 degrees here. So depending on the center, the rotation point that you choose for the sketch, it's going to be representative of that. So say this is what we want to rotate, click OK, and now we've rotated that one sketch. Now let's get rid of the arc, and let's choose this one here, and let's say it's that point there, and we just want to rotate that, bring it in, click OK, and now we've just brought that little point in there. And let's rotate this guy here too. So uncheck the arc, click this line, make this the center of rotation, and just rotate him around. Make him there, click OK. And now we've manipulated the sketch to whichever way we wanted. Now, this is just an example of how you do it, but another way, or like where you would probably use something like this, is if you're sketching again from like a surface or something, or from some existing sketches and geometries, and you're making a new one, and say you just want to rotate the whole thing around. It's a lot easier to just use this and rotate around than using, say, a smart dimension or redoing the whole sketch completely. And this concludes our tutorial on how to use the rotate sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 107, and it covers how to use the copy sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now what we're going to be doing in this tutorial is we're going to be using the copy sketch feature, and what that does is whatever sketch you already have, if it's really hard, really intricate to make, you're able just to make a straight copy of it and move it around on that sketch wherever you want it to be. And this one works pretty much exactly the same as the move, except that after you move it, the original is still there in the original spot. So to start off, let's just sketch a rectangle. So let's click Rectangle, click any plane, and just draw one out. Now let's click Tools, Sketch Tools, click Copy, and now you can see in this box it has everything that's highlighted, and right now we have each line highlighted. So if you want the whole thing to move, you have to highlight it all. If you only want one line, only have one highlighted. And just like the move, you can do a from to, from a point, or you can do the X and Y. So first let's do the from to. So you have to click a starting point, it can be anywhere, it doesn't really matter. And then you have your copy that you're able to move around. And if you're still able to, with that point, to relate it to other points on the original sketch, so you can see the dotted blue line, so it's always going to be in line with that. Or you can do it vertically, it's always going to be in line there. So just throw a couple copies around, click OK, and you got your copies. Now, do Control Z, get back. Let's click Tools, Sketch Tools, and let's click Copy again. And this time we're going to use the X and Y coordinates, and we'll make it precise. So let's make it 100 and 100. Click OK. And now we have our copy, 100 millimeters X, 100 millimeters Y. So you're able to move it around with a bit more precision. Now click X and Control Z, go back again. And let's click Tools and click Copy, and this time let's only do one line. So you have that, and we'll use the from to, use that point, and you're able just to copy that line all the way around. Now click X, and let's delete this sketch. Now let's make another sketch, and let's make this one a bit more intricate, one that you wouldn't really want to copy yourself by hand. So click Line, click any plane, just freehand, again, a unique design. Okay, and now you have your sketch. Now, this one, probably you wouldn't want to copy out and move it around. Now, this can be like, say, a cutout that you're going to make, and you want to make more of them, and you wouldn't want to manually go back and dimension all this stuff, and let's just say this is already dimensioned out for you. So then you go and you'd use your sketch copy, and you'd go around, select each line that you want. Let's just say we want these ones, and we'll select the point to move it from, and you can move it around. Then you make your copies. So it's that easy. Click OK, and say that we dimension a line here. So let's dimension this guy. Let's make him 20. And then after you dimension them, you're still able to go back copy a different one, move it around again. So even after you make the copy, it's going to retain the original one. So now, if I move that line, it's going to be a small one. As before, it was that size. So after you make a copy, even if you go back and change the original, the copy is going to retain what it was copied from, not if you go and adjust that one line. So whenever you have an intricate design, something you don't want to spend your time copying again, just use the copy feature, and it works perfectly. And this concludes our tutorial on how to use the copy sketch feature within SolidWorks. This is tutorial number 108, and it covers how to use the linear pattern sketch feature within SolidWorks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now in this tutorial, what we're going to be doing is using the linear pattern sketch feature, and it's pretty much exactly the same as using the linear pattern feature and the linear pattern assembly. So really it's the same, there's just a couple differences and drawbacks. The only drawback I really see compared to the other ones is that when you're using the linear pattern sketch, you're only able to do it about the X and Y and then rotate it whichever way you want it to be. Compared to when you use like the linear pattern feature, you're able to just click a line and it'll feature along that line, so it can be on an angle or whatever it is. So to start off, let's click Sketch, and let's sketch out on any plane, just a profile, a unique one that you don't really want to duplicate yourself. Alright, and once you have it, now we're going to use a linear sketch, the linear pattern sketch, and we're going to pattern the sketch about. So let's click Tools, Sketch Tools, Linear Pattern, and you can see in the Entities to Pattern that the arc is selected. So now let's do, you can either select one by its own or you can do them all. So let's click all of them. And then you can see that the green is the original and that the yellow is what's going to come out. So in here, let's change this to 100 and let's make this 5. So now you can see each of the sketches moving out. Let's make it a little bit more so they're not touching. And so you're able to change the distance. It's along the X axis and the number of instances. You're also able to change the angle, so if we let this go up, everybody moves up. If you bring it down, everything's going to move down. So it's up to you wherever you want it to be, so you can just rotate it around there. Click OK. And the cool thing with this, compared to when we did the copy, was when we used the copy, if we change this feature here, anything on here, it would not affect the other copies. So if we change this guy here, everybody's changes. So it's just a cool thing that whatever you do to the beginning one is going to copy through to the rest. So click Control Z, go back to when you just had one, and let's do another one around the Y. So click Linear Pattern, click all the sides again, and for the X, to get rid of it, put it down to 1, so now there's nothing going on the X, and when you put this up to 2, you're going to see that it's going up the Y. So let's increase the distance, we'll make 5 of them, and you can see that it's going up the Y, and you're able to change the angle, and it'll move around. Click OK, and now you've used it in the Y direction. Now let's go back to the original again, and this time we're only going to do a section of it. So Sketch Tools, Linear Pattern, and this time let's just linear pattern these ends here, and let's make the distance, and we'll make 5 of them. And if you go back, you can see that you've made 5 of them going around. So click OK. And why you would maybe want to do this is that if each of them are going to be specific and different. So you have the same kind of like opening there, but each one is going to have a different kind of backing. but they still contain the same basic opening. So that's another way you might want to pattern. Alright, and that concludes our tutorial on how to use the linear pattern sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 109, and it covers how to use the circular pattern sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Just click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial, we're going to be covering how to use the circular pattern sketch feature, and it works pretty much the same as the circular pattern feature and the circular assembly feature. So pretty much like with the linear pattern, there's small drawbacks, and that would be that you're only able to do the circular pattern along a point that's already in the sketch, so you're not able to kind of make like a point outside of that. So you kind of have to manually make the point, then move it around. So to start off, let's just create a sketch. So let's click Line, click any plane, and let's just draw a random sketch. And then let's click Tools, Sketch Tools, and let's click Circular Pattern. And now at the bottom in your Entities box, you can select just one or all of them. So let's choose all of them. And you can already see that we kind of have a pattern coming out. Now, if we click point 1, it's going around the origin right now. But let's say we want it to go about there. So whichever point you click, that's where it's going to be doing its rotations about. So you'd want to pick one, whichever one that fits your use or whatever you want it to come from. So if you have a point like that, you're not really getting anything, it's just going to be a mess. If you do this one, everything's separate, and you'll be able to extrude something out. So click OK, looks good, and you got it. And then like the linear pattern, if we make a dimension here, and let's make it 50, everything changes. Everything's related to the original one, so whatever we do to the original sketch, it's going to be duplicated throughout the rest of the pattern. Let's click Ctrl Z, and let's get rid of this sketch, and let's do another one. So click Line, click the front plane, and let's just make like a little V up here. And let's choose the circular pattern, and we'll choose this line too. And then you're able to see that it's patterning around the origin there. And in here, you're able to adjust really what's going on. So right now there's only 4 instances. If we do 5, keep doing it. And what's nice about this is that it kind of automatically does like the distancing for you. You're saying that it's going to go all the way around 360 degrees, so every time you put an instance, it's going to automatically space them out for you. So it's nice. If you had 9 like that, and let's do 180, then it's going to automatically space 9 of them within the 180 degrees that you're giving it to move around. And then you're also able to change that point again. Right now the origin works, but say you wanted 4 of them, 360 degrees, and let's choose the point to be this one here. And you can see that they're just rotated around that point. So that's how to use the circular pattern feature, sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 110, and it covers how to use the Edit Linear Pattern sketch feature within Solidworks. Now, if we already have made our linear pattern sketch, and say we wanted to go back and edit something that's going on with it, we can't just double click on the sketch or double click on this and be able to get into the menu to change it. If we were using like the linear pattern feature or like the linear pattern assembly, you'll have like a little box on the side. They'll show the feature, you double click on it, you can get into it and adjust the parameters. But to do it using the sketch, which is one of the quirks with it, kind of another one of the drawbacks, is that you have to click on the sketch, click Tools, Sketch Tools, Edit Linear Pattern, then it brings up the menu. So it's just a longer way to go around to bringing up the menu. So let's say that you have this, and let's say that you just didn't want to bring one of the lines in with it, so click Delete, click OK, and now you only have a couple of lines going across. Now let's say you want to change the distance, we'll go back into there again, and then let's bring the distance back to 50. Click OK, and there you go. So that's just how you'd have to go about editing a linear pattern sketch that you've already made. And that concludes our tutorial. This is tutorial number 111, and it covers how to use the Edit Circular Pattern Sketch feature within Solidworks. Now, one of the problems with doing the circular pattern sketch is that after you make it, there's no real way to kind of double click and get back into what's going on with the pattern. So what you have to do, say if you accepted it, you've created whatever it is you want and you don't like it, what you have to do is click on it, click Tools, Sketch Tools, and click Edit Circular Pattern. And what that's going to do is bring back the menu that you first began with adjusting all the parameters. So whatever you changes on there. So it's just a way to get back into the menu. So click OK. And that's just another kind of one of the problems or little quirks with using the circular pattern sketch, is that it doesn't have a menu on the side like if we use the feature that you can just double click and get back into the screen. You have to go into the sketch, click on the sketch, and then click to edit it. So that's just the only way really to get into to readjust the circular pattern that you've already made. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Edit Circular Pattern Sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 112, and it covers how to use the Fillet Sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up the new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now in this tutorial we're going to be using the Fillet Sketch feature, and what we're going to be doing with it is, or why you'd be using it is, instead of using, when you're in features, to insert a fillet on a solid, you're able to do it within the sketch. So to start off, let's create a rectangle. So click Rectangle, click Front Plane, and bring out your rectangle. Now to access Sketch Fillet, either you can click it from here, or you can go through the tools. So click Tools, Sketch Tools, and click the fillet. Now to use the fillet, all you have to do is click two lines, and in between the two is going to create the fillet. So let's click this line here and this line, click OK. We got our radius at 10 there. Now we can adjust the radius there if we just double click on it. Let's put 20, and now we have a rad at 20 there. Now let's do it again. We'll just click here this time, click this line, and we did it again. Now let's click this again, but this time you can, before you click on there, you can add the dimension. So let's say we want this one to be 15, and now let's click this line, and you got it in there. Click OK. And we've created our fillets onto our sketches. So the reason why you'd want to do that is if you don't want to do it while you're creating your feature on your solid, you can do it in the sketch beforehand, and then you can use some of these dimensions when you're in the fillet to make parameters off of that. So when you're doing it in the feature, if you made this this fillet, and then you wanted to make a dimension of, say, this point, how far it's going to be from the center of that fillet, then you'd have to go back and create a cut and do all that. Instead, we can just do it in here, and let's say it's 50. And then it automatically does it. So the advantage of doing it in here is that you're able to adjust everything beforehand, just make one extrude, and you're done, rather than creating the extrude, doing the fillets on the feature, and then making a cut or extrude, whatever else you have to do. So that's the advantage of this. It's a lot easier, it lets you manipulate the sketch a lot more, and the whole part altogether, and saves you some time. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Fillet Sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 113, and it covers how to use the Chamfer Sketch feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial, we're going to cover how to use the Chamfer Sketch feature, and why we would want to use the Chamfer Sketch rather than using it in the solid. by adjusting the sketch, we're able to adjust more parameters in the sketch while we're in the sketch, rather than doing a chamfer on a solid and then going back and making some other adjustments to it. So if we do it all in the sketch, we're able to save ourselves either a couple steps in creating the one part, or we're able just to manipulate the part a lot better. So to start off, let's create a rectangle. So click rectangle, click front plane, and let's just make a rectangle, square, whatever you want it to be. And now let's add a chamfer. So let's click tools, click sketch tools, click chamfer, and to do this you have to click two sides, and then it's going to make the chamfer in between. So let's click this point and this point here, and then you're able to see it. Now click OK. Now if we do another one, you can either choose an angle distance or a distance, and what the difference between those two is that the distance, if you look here, it's going to run 40 there, so you're able just like to play with the triangle and just make it whatever you want. With the angle distance, it's going to be 10 on a 45, and if we did a 40 on a 45, it would be exactly that. So let's just do that. I'll show you, and we'll do it on this side here, and it's the exact same one. Now let's undo that, and let's change the angle to 75, and we'll put this down to 20. Let's change the angle then. We'll put it to 45. And you can see it right there. Now let's undo it. Let's raise it up to 60. And you can see the difference. So that's what's going on with that. Let's click OK. Now, why we would want to do this, like I was saying before, rather than going through creating like a solid, square, rectangle, whatever it was, and then making the chamfers, would be if, say, we want to dimension certain points. So say we want say either like these points here, we can dimension them, or say we want this point to this point to be a certain distance. Say we want it to be 50. So now we got it to 50. But if we just did the chamfers alone, it would be a lot harder to really manipulate those chamfers to make those 2 points 50 millimeters apart from each other. So by doing it all in the sketch, you're able to manipulate everything a lot easier, and you're able to see what's going on, and just it gives you a lot more options how to change and play around with the dimensions and options and what your part's going to look like by the end. So that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Chamfer Sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 114, and it covers how to use the Parallelogram feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up the part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now we're going to be using the Parallelogram sketch feature, and why we would want to be using this feature is if we want to make pretty much like a rectangle on an angle to something, this is what we would be wanting to use, because if it wasn't for that, it'd be a lot harder to manually go in and draw it out and have everything dimensioned right and everything. So to start off, let's click Sketch, and let's click Rectangle, click Front Plane, and let's just draw a rectangle over here. Now let's say that we wanted another rectangle to be going up around like that. So if we would want that, we'd probably have to sketch it out ourselves, do the lines like this, try to line everything up, and then we're able to go and let's say that we want that pretty much is it at a 45-degree angle, and say we want it at a 45, then we have it. So just to show you a quick and easier way to go about all that, so let's just delete these lines here. Would be using the Parallelogram feature. So click Tools, click Sketch Entities, and click Parallelogram. So what it is pretty much like a 3.3 click way to create your parallelogram, or your rectangle on an angle, whichever way you want to look at it. So you click one point here, because it's going to be in line with him, and then this one's going to be the angle. It even shows you the angle. If you look in the box, it shows the distance and the angle. So we wanted like a 45, so you can shoot for 45, but just to show you how we can move it around, I'm going to put it around 20, and then we're going to put it up to 45 after. So click there, and then your last click is going to be the height, how much you want it to be. And everything's shown to you in right beside the point. You're going to see the distance and the angle. So click OK. And now you have your parallelogram. So let's shift it around. So we'll click that line and that line, and let's make it 45. And now we've moved it 45 degrees up. Now I'll just show you again, just a quick way of doing it. So Tools, Sketch Entities, Parallelogram, and it's 3 clicks, and you've got your parallelogram rectangle on an angle. So the reason why we'd use this is that instead of doing manually, going through all these lines and trying to like line them all up and everything, you click 3 times, shows you your angle, shows you your distance. It's a lot easier to use, quicker to use, and you get a better result. So that concludes our tutorial on how to use the parallelogram feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 115, and it covers how to use the Polygon feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now what I'm going to show you is how to use the Polygon Sketch feature, and why we would want to use the Polygon Sketch feature is because if we didn't use it, it'd be really hard to make any polygons. So just to show you, let's click Sketch, and let's try to make a hexagon. Very hard, takes a while, none of the angles are right, so it's a lot easier just to use the Polygon feature that Solidworks has. So just to show you where it is, let's click Tools, click Sketch Entities, and click Polygon. Click any plane, and then you can see on the side it shows how many parameters, so you're able to choose how many sides it has, and then go up and down and choose whatever you want. So let's see you making the same hexagon, how easy it is. Done. That's it. So it automatically puts in, it's pretty much like using like the circle, so that you make like a center point, you pull it out, and you create it. And you can even see like the circle inside of it that it's being made from. So these lines are all tangent to the circle, and if you look when you're making it, there's another dotted line, and when I move it around you can see that dotted line. So on the side it's showing the distance, like for the rad, like the radius, the rad, so the radius out. So it shows that, and then the angle. So right now it's at 360, and it kind of snaps to major points, so like 90 degrees, 180, 270, and 360. Just so, say this was like a bolt head, you can get like a different look if it's at 90, if it's at 180, or if it's at 270. Or you can do any angle in between there, but it snaps to those major ones. And then let's say that you want one with more sides, just click this, and it adds the necessary amount of sides, and it still uses the same radius, and they're all tangent again to that one. So you can start out with a triangle, go to a square, and you keep going up and up and up. Click OK. And this is just a lot easier than if you manually went in and tried to dimension it all yourself. So you're able to make pretty much any polygon that you want, and it automatically makes every angle even and equal, and it gives you the right polygon shape, size, and everything. And it's just a lot easier way to do it than if you manually did it. So that's the way to make polygons in Solidworks. And that concludes our tutorial. This is tutorial number 116, and it covers how to use the Ellipse feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now we're going to be using the Ellipse Sketch feature in this tutorial, and why we would be wanting to use the Ellipse feature is if we want to make an ellipse, if we know the points and the dimensions that we want to make it to, it's a lot easier just to use the ellipse rather than trying to use, say, something like the 3-point arc and making, let's say, 4 of them trying to make an ellipse. So you make 1 point there, and this is just rough. It's not really how you would really measure it all out, but I'm just trying to make an example. So that's kind of like how you would try to manually make an ellipse by using the tools up here. But to really make one, let's exit out of this. We would use, if you click Tools, Sketch Entities, and if you click Ellipse. Click the front plane. And how the ellipse is going to work is that you're going to give it a center point. This is like 3 clicks to make one. So you're going to make a center point, and then you're going to make the radius or the rad for one of the, either the top and bottom point or the length, so the width there. So let's start off. Let's make it at the center point here. So click this point here, and now we're going to make the rad going out to the side. So let's say that we want a rad around 70. So we'll go around 70. And then we want this rad here. You can see it's the second one is a little r. And say we want it to be 15. Put it about there. So now we've made our ellipse around that. Now the points aren't exact, so we can either edit them in here. We can make it 70 and 15. Click OK. Or we can use the smart dimension. So let's dimension this point to this point, and let's make this one 10 this time. And the bottom follows too. And we can do the sides too. And let's make this 100. And it follows suit on both sides. So by using the ellipse feature, you're able, really, what it kind of like lets you do is just throw an ellipse in there, nice and easy, and then worry about putting in the dimensions after. So if you have like a mathematical, I guess like sketch or feature that you want to use, you're able to use the ellipse to mathematically kind of put it in there, dimension it out, and it gives you a lot nicer, cleaner look than using, if you use like the 3-point arc like I showed you before. Even though it was off, you'd have to go around and dimension each of these and make the points and all that, and it's too much work, and it wouldn't give you the same effect and consistency as the ellipse will. So that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Ellipse Sketch feature within Solidworks. This is tutorial number 117, and it covers how to use the partial ellipse feature within Solidworks. Now to start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. Now what I'm going to be showing you here is pretty much an extension of the Ellipse Sketch feature that I showed you before. And what the partial ellipse feature does is that it lets you create a ellipse and then kind of have an opening where you would attach another bit of a sketch to it. And the advantage of doing the partial ellipse compared to a normal ellipse is pretty much what it does is it lets you not use this feature here. So if you go to Sketch Tools and the Split Entities, if you wanted to do the same thing, you'd have to use the Split Entities on the ellipse to cut out a section. So kind of like cuts out a whole step for you how to do it. So to start off, let's sketch one out. So let's click Tools, click Sketch Entity, click Partial Ellipse, click any plane, and again it's three clicks to do it. So the first click's your center point, the next one's your first radius, and the other one's your other rad. Now once you do that, it's gonna kind of let you follow all the way around to pick a point where you want it to end at, kind of thing. So let's say we just want a little opening here, so we'll leave it there. And then on the side you're able to adjust the rads and everything. So let's make this 70 and 15, and we'll click OK. Now pretty much what this did for us, like I said before, if you went to Sketch Tools and did Split Entities, you'd have to click that point, then go out and delete that little bit there. So that's pretty much what the partial ellipse lets you do. It just lets you get away without doing that. Now if we click Smart Dimension, we can also change the distance in between here, and it's actually going to follow the correct path of the ellipse. So it's not actually just going to bring this whole bit in, it's actually going to follow the ellipse. So let's click these 2 points here. Now let's make it 10, and you can see that it closed in and it's just 10 away. Now if we did 70, it's going to go back again, and it's following the ellipse and the right curvature that it should be following. Now like I said, why we would want to be having this open is if we wanted to attach something else to it. So let's say that we got some little design that we have to follow here. So now we've closed it in, plus we have our ellipse. So it's just like a little anchor for it to come out on, whatever it is. It's from whatever design it is, you get like a little opening to put another sketch in there. So you don't just have the ellipse by itself. And if you go to feature and extrude it, you're able to extrude it out like any other part. Click OK, and you have your ellipse. And this one kind of looks like the head of a putter. Anyways, that concludes our tutorial. This is tutorial number 118, and it covers how to use the Parabola Sketch feature within Solidworks. Now start off, let's open up a new part file. Let's click File, click New, click Part, click OK. So in this tutorial we're going to be covering how to use the Parabola Sketch feature, and what a parabola is it's a mathematical kind of equation that has like a focus point, and what we're going to do is we're just going to show you how to kind of set the parameters of it. So start off, click Tools, click Sketch Entities, and click Parabola. Click any plane, and what you're going to do is you're going to pretty much start off with clicking like the focus point of the parabola. So if most of you have seen this in any math course that you've taken, you've done parabolas, and you kind of like know what the definition of them are, but pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to click a point, and then that's going to be the focus point. And if we zoom out a lot, you can see that as you move the cursor, you're going to be coming out more, and it's kind of like, I guess, the top radius, you can say, that we're pulling out. And as we're doing that, the rest of the parabola reacts to, as the origin is the center point of it. So wherever you put it out, whatever angle it shoots out at, it's going to go to the same point, kind of thing. So that's kind of like the definition of a parabola. So just pull it out as far as you want, and click. And now when you click again, it's going to start doing like the partial ellipse that we had before. It's going to be able to just do like a certain amount. So right now you have kind of like a construction line of the parabola. So let's say that we want to start it from here. So click here, and you're able to sweep it along, and it goes as far as you want. So you want it to go down here, it goes there, and it just follows the path of the parabola that it would be following. And then on the side, you're able to change the parameters if you want to. You can increase it, decrease it, you can twist it around there. All these parameters is just playing around with the parabola, just the different like mathematical kind of formula that's going into it. So if you have a parabola, and if you have the dimensions and the specific mathematical kind of like coordinates that you want to put in, you're able to put them in, or you're able just to manipulate it yourself manually if you just want to keep going, see if you like it. So let's see, let's keep going. And this is kind of like coming around, and it's kind of looking like a aerofoil, like the shape of a wing. So you cut that off there. It's not exact, but you can see that you kind of have like the shape of a wing there. So just playing around with the parameters of the parabola there, you're able to change the exact dimensions, the shape, and how it looks. And that concludes our tutorial on how to use the Parabola Sketch feature within Solidworks.